On August 28, 2008, 23-year-old Hannah Upp left her apartment in Manhattan for a jog. She was a teacher, smart, healthy, and with no reason to disappear. But when she didn't show up to work that day, friends and family knew something was wrong. Days passed. Posters went up around the city. Police searched the Hudson River, but Hannah had vanished. And then, a chilling discovery. Surveillance footage from an Apple store in Midtown captured Hannah alive. She was seen wandering around inside, browsing laptops, looking perfectly normal. Over the next few days, she appeared on more cameras across the city. In Starbucks, in gyms, walking aimlessly down the street. But here's the terrifying part. When police finally found her, floating face down and unconscious in the Hudson River, Hannah had no memory of what happened. Doctors diagnosed her with something extremely rare: dissociative fugue. It's a condition where someone can completely lose their memory, even their identity, yet still function, travel, and interact like anyone else. Hannah remembered going for her morning jog, and then nothing, until she woke up in the hospital weeks later. To her, it was as if no time had passed, but to everyone else, she had been missing for nearly a month. For most people, this would be a one-time event. But for Hannah, it wasn't. In 2013, she vanished again while working in Maryland. Police later found her disoriented, once again with no memory of where she'd been. And in 2017, while living in the Virgin Islands, it happened one last time. Hannah failed to show up for work. Her car was found abandoned near a beach, and her belongings were left behind. This time, she never returned. To this day, Hannah Upp's final disappearance remains unsolved. Some believe she may have drowned while in another fugue state. Others think something darker happened, that her vulnerability made her the perfect target. What we do know is this: she was a woman who could vanish while standing right in front of you. And the scariest part, she wouldn't even know it herself. In August of 2013, 16-year-old Hannah Anderson left school in San Diego, California. She thought she was heading home, but what followed was a nightmare that would change her life forever. When Hannah didn't show up that evening, panic spread quickly. Her mother, Christina, and younger brother, Ethan, were also missing. And within hours, police made a horrifying discovery. Both Christina and Ethan had been murdered inside the home of a family friend. That friend's name was James DiMaggio, a man Hannah had known her entire life, someone she trusted. But now, all signs pointed to him as the killer, and worse, he had vanished with Hannah. For 6 days, the nation watched in fear. The Amber Alert spread across California and beyond. Investigators tracked DiMaggio's car across state lines. And then, hundreds of miles away in the wilderness of Idaho, hikers spotted something strange. A man and a teenage girl, camping deep in the backcountry. It was Hannah. When police finally raided the campsite, DiMaggio opened fire. He was killed in the standoff, and Hannah was rescued, alive, but forever changed. In the aftermath, Hannah revealed pieces of what had happened during her captivity. But her memory wasn't whole. She told investigators that parts of those 6 days were missing, almost as if her mind had erased them. Doctors later confirmed it was a result of trauma-induced amnesia, and that is what makes this case so unsettling. Hannah remembered the fear. She remembered being taken. She remembered DiMaggio. But the details in between, the details of what she truly endured, may never be known. Today, Hannah lives under a new identity. She rarely speaks about what happened, and in the shadows of her own mind, fragments of those missing days still remain locked away. What we do know is chilling enough. A trusted family friend betrayed her in the most violent way possible, but what Hannah can't remember may be even worse. On the morning of August 31, 2004, a man was found lying behind a Burger King in Richmond Hill, Georgia. He was sunburned, weak, and covered in fire ant bites. He had no wallet, no phone, no ID, and when paramedics asked who he was, he couldn't answer. The man claimed he had no memory of his name, no memory of his family, no memory of where he came from. Doctors ran every test imaginable, but physically, nothing was wrong. It was as if his entire identity had been erased. He began calling himself Benjamin Kyle. For years, that was the only name he had. Police searched missing persons reports, fingerprints, and databases across the country. Nothing matched. Benjamin lived this way for over a decade, a man with no past, trapped in a permanent present. During that time, he gave interviews, appeared on news programs, and pleaded for help. Yet still, no one recognized him. It wasn't until 2015, after 11 years of searching, that genealogical testing finally revealed the truth. His real name was William Burgess Powell. He had been born in Indiana and disappeared from his family in the late 1970s. But even with a name, Benjamin still insisted he couldn't remember any of it. To this day, the lost years of his life remain a mystery. He claimed he never regained the memories of where he had been or why he was left behind that Burger King. And that's what makes this case so chilling. A man stripped of his entire identity, living for more than a decade as a ghost. He was found, but never really came back. In September of 2006, a man from Alberta, Canada, simply disappeared. His name was Jeff Ingram. He left home on what should have been a normal day. But just hours later, he was gone. 4 days passed with no word, and then something strange happened. In Denver, Colorado, over 1,000 miles away, a man walked into a hospital. He had no ID, no wallet, and no memory of who he was. All he could say was that he didn't know his own name. Doctors quickly realized he was suffering from total amnesia. But when attempts to identify him failed, Jeff took an unusual step. He went on live television, appearing on the Today Show and pleading for help. Millions of people across the country watched as a man with no past begged for someone to recognize him. And then, someone did. His fiancée back in Canada saw the broadcast. She called in, and just like that, Jeff finally had his name back. He returned home and tried to rebuild his life, but the nightmare wasn't over. Just months later, in 2007, Jeff vanished again. This time, he reappeared in Washington state. Once more, with no memory of who he was. Once again, he had to be identified and brought home. Doctors called it dissociative fugue, a rare psychological condition where a person can lose all memory of their identity, yet still function and travel. But the fact that it happened twice makes Jeff's story one of the most disturbing cases of amnesia ever recorded. To this day, Jeff has spoken publicly about his condition. He admits he lives in constant fear that one morning he'll wake up in a strange place with no memory of who he is, a man who can vanish, not because of where he goes, but because of what his own mind erases. On August 27, 1996, a woman checked into a Seattle hotel. She gave the name Mary Anderson. She paid in cash. She carried no luggage. And for the next 2 days, no one saw her leave the room. When staff finally went to check, they found her lying on the bed. She was dead. Next to her body was a Bible, open to the book of Psalms, and on the nightstand, a note. It read, "My death is no one's fault. I chose this. I have no family. You'll never find my real name." Detectives immediately tried to identify her, but the name she used at check-in was fake. The social security number she gave didn't exist. She had no wallet, no phone, no ID. Every lead went nowhere. All they knew was how she died. A deliberate overdose of cyanide, something almost no one has access to. Police released her fingerprints. They released her photograph. They released the note she left behind. And still, nothing. Not a single person ever came forward to say they recognized her. For decades, the case of Mary Anderson has remained one of Seattle's most disturbing mysteries. Who she really was, where she came from, and why she erased her past before ending her life has never been answered. She wanted the world to believe she had no identity, and to this day, she succeeded.